Hello, true duelists. It's YGO Strat's Yu-Gi-Oh! Single card history, where I'm going to be talking about some of the cards that have impacted Yu-Gi-Oh! Throughout the years, and some of the other ones that didn't. Today's card, the tour guide for the new age, Speedroid Terrortop. Terrortop was first released in High Speed Riders in 2015 as a super rare, with notable reprints including an Ultimate Rare print in 2016's OTS Pack 3, a Starfoil Rare in Star Pack Battle Royale in 2017, and a Peasant Rare printing in 2021's Legendary Duelists Synchro Storm. For time on the ban list, the card was unlimited up until the June 2017 ban list, where it was hit to 1 for a very good reason, and as of this video has been there ever since. A level 3 wind attribute machine type monster with 1200 attack and 600 defense, its effect reads: if you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. When this card is normal or special summoned, you can add one Speedroid monster from your deck to your hand, except Speedroid Terrortop. You can only use this effect of Speedroid Terrortop once per turn. Terrortop. The card that did what I felt could never be done and power crept Tour Guide. Guess 2011 me wasn't the smartest. Or if it didn't power creep it, it got as close to doing that as anything else has ever done. It doesn't replace Tour Guide in the exact same way, but it gets the job done in practice, and that's really what matters. Because if the only thing you care about is making a generic rank 3 Xyz, it doesn't get much better than Terrortop. Because while this and Tour Guide effectively both get the job done, Tour Guide has to use your normal summon and Terrortop doesn't. By special summoning itself and searching Takatomborg, a level 3 that can summon itself from your hand if you control a wind monster, you've got 2 free bodies on board and a normal summon fully waiting and ready to go. And Lord knows that can be a game changer. On release, Terrortop quickly found home in the rank 3 strategy of the decade, Burning Abyss decks. It's worth noting that some people simply put Terrortop into a pure Burning Abyss deck and called it a day, using the same trap-heavy strategy that the deck had developed, with Terrortop serving as one free Dante on top of your endless rank 3 spam. Pumping out 3 Dantes was a key game plan regardless, and using Terrortop before summoning Tour Guide made for some very easy advantage off of only 2 out of your 5 starting cards. And it did make for a very competent deck. But taking the deck from competent to meta meant one more addition to Burning Abyss, and that was of course the Phantom Knight engine, giving the deck more level 3s that had solid time adding more monsters to the board to swarm more level 3s for more rank 3s, but with effects in the grave to search and send more cards to the grave, which worked very, very well with Burning Abyss's milling strategy. Terrortop helped Phantom Knight Burning Abyss, or PK Fire as it's better known, just as well as it had pure Burning Abyss, able to get an extra Dante off of one card and helping to keep Burning Abyss monsters in your hand, which could be used to cheat rank up into Beatrice, which was the deck's strongest play by far. This formed a tier 1 strategy for roughly a year, going from the release of Wing Raiders and the Phantom Knights up until the limit of Beatrice, and more notably, the release of Raging Tempest and the Zodiac archetype. Zodiac took the metagame by storm, becoming the next tier 0 deck and being damn well everywhere, able to Xyz summon any of their Zodiac monsters onto any Zodiac monster. And with Zodiac Broad Bull able to search any Beast Warrior from the deck, it functionally meant that any zoo monster could become any zoo monster. Where Terrortop fits into all this is that it is used to make MX Saber Invoker without even having to use the deck's normal summon. This meant that any deck playing Zoo was able to throw in Terrortop and summon one Zoo from the deck off of Invoker and save the normal summon for, say, an additional Zodiac monster to get even more Xyz summons. It also gave the deck easier access to getting Zodiac Ratpier, who could give an Xyz monster that had it as a material the ability to summon another Ratpier from the deck. And since every Xyz could turn into every other Xyz, Invoker meant not only could you summon a free body to get a free Xyz summon, but you could also get an extra additional free rank 4 just by spamming out the rats. Just a tiny bit strong. The deck was incredibly consistent, and Pure variants dominated the meta for the full time that it was legal. Pure wasn't the only variant, however. Countless archetypes and engines would use the Zodiac engine to help their plays, and most of them would almost all abuse Terrortop. Because it's literally a free summon, why wouldn't you? Some off-the-wall variants, relatively speaking, included things like Infernoid Zodiac, which would abuse the then new Grass Looks Greener to fill the grave for endless fuel for free Infernoid bodies. It played a Zoo engine because it was just so damn good and free, and it's easy to throw in, the best engine in the game at the time when building to 60 cards. Just throw in Terrortops, some Rats, and some Whiptail, and there you go. You got a free Xyz on your board to accompany your DD Crow effect full Infernoid board. This was also the same reasoning something like Lightsworn variants would come about that would play Grass and a Zoo engine to get the best out of their deck that was available. Lightsworn would play Terrortop again almost exclusively to make Invoker to get easy access to the Rat, but it would also occasionally play it to get out a copy of Leviair and recover some banished monsters, as grass with Fairy Tale Snow means that you're going to have a number of banished monsters that are just free for the taking with a Leviair. These were some of the countless variants that played Zoodiac that are far too many to list, but Zoo was ultimately known for its triangle of Zoodiac decks at the top. To combat pure Zoodiac deck's dominance, some players would throw in a true Draco engine to get out Masterpiece and serve as a towers that pure Zoo couldn't handle, on top of the additional traps for disruption. This variant wouldn't always play Terrortop, as it could make more use of something like Bow Baboon, which had better synergy with Draconic Diagram, but it wasn't like Terrortop was a bad choice per se, it's just that this is the one variant that actually gave it a meaningful amount of competition. To combat this variant, and more specifically Masterpiece, players also started to play Kaiju Zoodiac, which was a pure Zoodiac deck, but with main decked Kaijus to tribute over exactly Masterpiece, and if you didn't run into a Masterpiece variant and you were just playing a Zoo mirror, tributing Trident for a turtle is never a bad play either. Beyond the Kaiju engine, however, this is still just Zoodiac, and as such, it was playing Terrortop to the same effect that pure Zoo would because Invoker was simply that good. This, of course, would all come to an end with the June 2017 ban list. Terrortop's limited status was deemed far too inconsistent to keep using in Zoo decks, and they mostly just moved on to bigger and more consistent things. But this wasn't the end of Terrortop's topping in general, not overall. Terrortop's oldest friend, Burning Abyss, would continue to play it in its variants. Sekka Burning Abyss was a build playing 3 copies of the then legal Pot of Greed known as Sekka's Light, and as many monsters as it took to get them to 40 cards or more. The deck was all gas and no breaks, playing extenders and trying to mill and summon what it could to make the best board it could, with Fairy Tale Snow, Orbital Hydralander for a big beater and disruption, and dangers for some easy link climbing by abusing the Nightmare package, and of course Beatrice, because a quick effect Foolish is a damn good thing to have. An easy way to get that is if you luck sack, draw your one of Terrortop. This core would become the same core that Block Dragon Burning Abyss would operate with, a wombo combo deck that did much of the same things, but with more of a no-playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Endboard in mind. Both variants would play Terrortop and one Takatomborg, because the deck just needed bodies it could get to, and that's what Terrortop is, isn't it? It did show up in an incredibly low number of Orcus decks as well, because Orcus just needed 2 names to get their core plays going, and if any 2 different names become a Nightmare from the extra deck, like Cerberus or Phoenix, you can then link into Nightmare Mermaid, and with that use its effect to summon Orcus Nightmare from the deck. From there, you could easily go into the full Orcus combo to climb into a copy of Phantom Knight Rusty Bardish and a Dingirsu in the grave, Symbol Skeleton in the grave as well, and a Babylon Field, along with 2 copies of Fogblade as well. That's a nifty field, isn't it? So what I'm saying is 2 monsters can become 2 monster negates, a targeted pop and a non-targeted send to the graveyard, and Terrortop and Takatomborg are indeed 2 monsters with different names. This was never the play of choice for Orcus builds in the top tables, to be clear, but there are lists showing it, and Terrortop needs what it can get at this point. Because beyond this is the last topping list I found playing the Red String of Fox, a lone Phantom Knight deck playing it with no targets to search off it, just using it as a free level 3 on board to make the standard Phantom Knight plays of climbing into Bardish through Cherubini, which just needs level 3 monsters. And that's about where it's at in regards to the current meta, much to the disdain of Speedroid players. Because it is still played in its pure decks, and it's great in it. Not even for the use of a free Xyz, it's used to make synchro plays and do so much more with its search than just Takatomborg. Unfortunately for Speedroid players, however, for all it does in Speedroid, it does just as much in other decks that have more impact on the metagame at large. Overall, Terrortop is a free pair of level 3s on board to play with. Having it in the game means that any deck can tech it in to get any sort of generic 3 play or even the generic Link 2 in the modern age. And while maybe right now as you're watching this video that wouldn't break open the game, there will be points in time when a strong, generic 2 material monster will be played, and if Terrortop were at 3 in that deck, it would be able to play it and have access to that powerful 2 material monster to play with without using their normal summon. And that will always be strong in some capacity. So rip to the Speedroid players and type Fs in the comments. You've got one of the best rank 3 engines in the game for your deck, and every other deck sought out to break it. Such is the fate of cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! And that's why Speedroid Terrortop is just too damn good to come off the ban list. And so that's our look at Yu-Gi-Oh! Single card history, Speedroid Terrortop. Stay tuned for our next video, and feel free to suggest some cards to review or what type of video you'd like to see. Don't forget to like, and as always, subscribe to YGO Strats, so you can impress your smokin' Italian wife, and so you too can be a true duelist.